Okay, so today we're going to talk about another algorithm, and this one has to do with palindromes. So, what is a palindrome? So, a palindrome is a word that is spelled the same way forward as it is spelled backwards. So, for instance, race car. So, if we were to enter in a word that, like, enter, we would say that is not a palindrome because retenue is not the same as enter. But if I was to say something like Bob, and I were to test that, I would say, yeah, Bob is a palindrome. So if we go to the code, I've typed out a few of these things beforehand just to make it easier and faster. So the first thing we want to do is I'm creating an array. There is a simpler way to do this. There is a method called reverse, which will make this much, much simpler. But for the purposes of a new developer who really might only know a few methods and might only know how to use for loops, we're going to do it this way. So the first thing I want to do is create something that will store this information. So we will create a variable called reversed array, and we will say for the input, we will loop through it. And what are we going to do with that? We are going to push each character from the end into a new array. So what this is doing is saying, take the end of our input and make a new list. So this is going to one by one pop off each of the last characters. And then what we're going to do is we're going to join that into a string. So you can see here, VS Code does a nice job of telling me what these things do. We're going to join those into a string, and we're going to say that if the reversed right here, we are joining this into a variable called reversed that is there. If that equals the input text, which is what we are passing into our function, which is the value over here that we enter in, if these two things are exactly identical, then yeah, we're going to say that that is a palindrome. And if not, we're going to say, well, it's not. It's as simple as that. So all we are doing is we are looping through the array. And we are saying, let's, instead of starting at the beginning, we'll start at the end. And of course, we're subtracting 1 because that is the way the number of arrays work since they start at 0. So they're always going to be 1 ahead. And we're going to build a new array, and then we're going to join that array together to make a string, and we will say if that string is the same as the string that we inputted before, then it must be a palindrome. And as I said before, all we have to do really is you could say string.reverse, and it'll do all of this logic for you. One line of code. But sometimes people want to see that you can really think through this and really perform well. And as you can see here, this is the same code. If I look at my main.js where I'm not messing around, it's the same exact code. And it works for Bob. It can work for integers. So if I write 101, you see, yeah, that is a palindrome. And I could code it out to say that integers don't work. But for what we want, this works just as good. And yeah, I hope this was helpful. And like for more videos. Thanks.